Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Today, we're going to be talking about pathways to US universities. We do have a lot of people who go through different pathways, OND, HND, A levels. And I think for me, the most popular one is actually the IGCSE. And we see a lot of parents who go through the British system, and at the end of grade 11, they're asking questions about, do I can I go through with this? What do I need to do to get into a US institution? And some people have gone through maybe NCE or OND, and they're asking, would I be able to go through with this? What can I do to be able to access a US education? So we're going to talk a little bit about that, but today we're going to be focusing more on case studies. And I do have my panelists with me. We have Udeme, we have Zoyana, we have Daniel. I think Daniel and Zoyana are A-level people. I also have one more graduate student who's supposed to come. She did NCE to talk about how she was able to navigate through that process. And of course, Udeme did the OND and HND and BSc and PhD. She has gone through all the layers, so she's going to talk to us a little bit about, that process. And just a little bit an overview of the US higher education. We do have community colleges versus 4 years. So I needed to talk a little bit about this. So we also, as Nigerians, understand that even in the US, they have something very similar to like our OND. So they do have something called like the associate degree, where you only go to college for 2 years and you're granted like an associate degree. But for us, is that you have the OND or you have the NCE, and of course, versus another a four-year institution where you spend 4 years. So for us, people do the bachelor's degree 4 years, or they continue to do an HND program, which is another 2 years program. So in the US and also here in Nigeria, we also need to be cognizant of importance of fit. How does this fit you, or what are the opportunities that are on your pathway if you're either going through the community colleges or OND or HND pathway, or you're doing A levels? What are the opportunities that comes through each of these various pathways or degrees that we might want to call it? So in the US, we see that people move from the associate degree to the bachelor's degree and master's, and of course, doctorate degrees. So that's kind of an overview of the US higher education, very, very similar with ours as well. So, and I think one problem we have here is a lot of people don't understand their qualification. You have an OND, you don't even know what it stands for. What can you do with it? You don't even know the grading system there. If I tell people, so what's your CGPA in OND? And they're like, I don't think they gave us grading, they only gave us pass. And I'm like, are you for real? Like, did you not check your grades? Did you not check your credentials? So please, whatever degree you're holding, please, it's very important that you at least understand what you're carrying. It's very important for you to know, okay, what's the CGPA, what are the grades, is it A or B, or I have A levels. You can have A levels, and it's possible that you fail the A levels. So I'm like, oh, you have A levels, but these grades are might not really, really work for us. So just understanding what you're carrying is very, very important. And for the audience who don't understand what OND or HND means, I did some brief description. It's the first 2 years. Most of the time, it's actually vocational qualification. And after that, the Nigerian system would make you do like a 1 year internship, real hands-on training. Then you can now come back for the higher national diploma, which to a large extent is equivalent to a bachelor's degree, but we do have a lot of contention with that. But I tell people, if you've done well with the HND program, you can actually do the evaluation process, and most of the time it actually comes out as being equivalent to a US bachelor's degree. And of course, we have the A levels. I'm a lover of A levels because I feel as a parent, it gives the child a lot of maturity and academic readiness. We're going to get into that, as we push along. So pathways, for those of us who have A levels, you have an A level, what can you do with that? Direct straight into a 4-year program. And for me, I like emphasizing the fact that it actually gives you more opportunity to compete more at most competitive institutions in the US. Because I just realized that most of the competitive institutions in the US, and we call them most competitive institutions in the US, would tend to give preference to students who have A levels compared to students who have O levels. And I'm always very country specific. I always tell people like, oh, you see people from Zim, countries that have the A level system, you see them get in more into highly competitive universities in the US compared to our own system where we only have the O level system. Because schools in the US believe that those who have the A levels are more college ready, you know, with an A-level degree, with an A-level documentation than those who don't have A level. So potential to get advanced placement. If you have an O level, you go to schools in the US, you get waived for a lot of things. Your math class is waived, your chemistry class is waived, and I know typically you actually get like a total of 33 or 35 credits. Not sure the exact number of credits to get, but I know for my son, literally, I think we got about 35 credits, out of the first academic year that classes that you're supposed to take, because like your English, math, chemistry, physics 101, all those kind of courses are actually being waived because they believe that the A level, you've done the basics during the A level time. And of course, it shows strong candidates for academic merit scholarship. So if you're looking for scholarship, it also puts you in a better position for any kind of scholarship. I know one of our panelists here, there were so many people that were competing this year, and I kept telling a couple of our undergraduate students that, Daniel is applying there, he has A levels, he might knock you out. I always made that statement to people like, I think Daniel is applying there. He has A levels. He might knock you out. So just like, because the truth is that US schools definitely would love kids who have A levels and who have actually really done well in A levels. And so this for me, the big contention, the IGCSE, a lot of students finish from it. I think this is so very popular in elite cities like Abuja and Lagos, where they go to the elite schools and they're done in grade 11. I see a lot of them re-enrolling into the Canadian grade 12 program that has become very popular, like as a pathway. Some people enroll back into grade 12 regular Nigerian institutions, maybe to write WAEC or complete that grade 12. And some people just go straight into the A-level programs. However, I've honestly seen students who have gotten into US schools with only grade 12 and strong SAT scores. But please, I always will add the fact that those people that I know that have done that had age had age with them, in the sense that they were not 14 or 16 years old children. So yeah, so the people that I know, I kind of did a reflection of, okay, have I seen people that have gone through IGCSE grade 11, great SAT scores, but they were 17 and above. And I specifically remember the last one we had was somebody who went to Penn State, grade 11, great SAT scores, lot of extracurricular activities. They were just matured enough, and definitely they waived that for him and just said he was going to take a couple of classes, when he gets on campus in the US. So that is still visible, but as an advisor, I would say we should go for the very first one for you to enroll into a grade 12, or honestly, I would say you should do A level, especially for the fact that a lot of Nigerians these days will graduate at 14, at 15. I don't even know how that happens. So please, all those youngies that you graduate so early, there's no rush in life. Please just go enroll into an A-level program and get that 2 years out of the way. Some of you might even finish A-level, you're still 16. Like literally, that's how early Nigerians graduate from school these days. So do the A-levels and at least get some maturity in this pathway of life. All right, so OND, NCE, if your grades are good, you can actually transfer. You can transfer to a US college, you can transfer to a US community college. And most of the time, if you're going to be transferring, some schools might ask you for you to evaluate that credential, So based on your credential evaluation, you might get a year or 2 years or 3, depending on the credit evaluation that is coming from your grades. And I've seen people even do the evaluation and say, you know what, my grades are not so good. I think I'll just start fresh. I've seen a lot of students do that, even with colleagues that I've worked with, like, you know what, yeah, we've done this 3 years. I just think I'm going to start because my grades are not that strong. And of course, credit transfer in the US varies from institution to institution, even within the US. So now think about if you're bringing these credits from outside the US. Within the US, I've seen people transfer from school A to school B in the first year. And by the time they're going to school B in the second year, they literally lose almost half of everything they're carrying from school A. Yeah, we've seen that happen a lot. So it does definitely vary from institution to institution. And I've seen schools in the US who would insist on seeing the course outline of those courses for them to before they can decide if they're going to waive you taking course one or course two, whatever that course is. Maybe take chemistry 101 or take chemistry 202, depending on the course content. That's what will determine if they're going to transfer some credits for you or don't transfer that credit for you. So that's that. Pathway for HND. Recently, I've seen a lot of HND students go directly into a US program, literally through evaluation. They qualify to do that. However, for those of us whose grades are not strong during our HND program, I've seen schools who have done like pre-masters program who either they give you a semester for you to like, is it makeup or markup? Make up with the courses or grades that you're lacking for you to qualify into a into a master's program. They make you do that. I call it the pre-master's program. Some schools do it for a semester, some schools do it for 2 semesters. So depending on the school, but I tell people honestly, HND is the only time, once I send HND student, I'm like, just go do evaluation. Don't kill yourself about, or if it's equivalent to BSc or not equivalent to BSc. That is not for you to judge. The evaluating body should judge that. So take those 4 years of grades, amazing grades, pull them through an evaluation process. And if it comes out well, you can just apply directly into a master's program. And if your resume is beyond wow, you have publications, you have XYZ, including your HND program, you might actually shoot for a PhD program, to be honest, really. So what's evaluation process? A lot of people had me talk about evaluation or evaluation. I know a couple of us did evaluation here. I think Daniel and Zoyan actually did evaluation. And the most important thing is for the fact that the US school wants to understand your credentials. Some people do, some US schools don't even understand what the A levels or O level is because it's a very British system. So some schools will tell you, you know what, you just need to go evaluate that credentials and let's see how that works. And I know for us in Education USA in Abuja specifically, we're very Spartan. And the reason why we're very Spartan is because Spartan would ask you for your high school transcript as well, but if like are your high school student and you're applying for evaluation through EC or West, I think typically they only take the WAEC result and they do the evaluation based on your WAEC result. Well, Spartan would actually you can do your evaluation with your high school transcript and that evaluation is done. And most times they actually give some students the advantage of getting better grades than the evaluation system just judging them on their final national examination. So know your credit, know what your final CGPA is. It actually just helps you understand where you are, your eligibility, and as you're looking at schools, you respect yourself now. By the time you see your CGPA, you know you're 2.3 or 2.9 or a 3.3, a 3.5, then you can actually shoot. And for me, this also helps you to navigate through scholarship qualification as well. If your evaluated transcript is really good, why not? We can shoot for the majors. So finally, I like to talk about the benefit of standardized tests, especially at the graduate level. So at the graduate level, I just know there's this trend of nobody wanting to take standardized tests any longer. You have OND, you have HND, and you're telling me, oh, but this school said they don't require this, or that school said they don't require TOEFL. This or that school said they don't require GRE, or no, I don't have to take the GMAT. But honestly, if you are in any of these pathways, taking a standardized test actually really, really, really helps you. Either you're taking the ACT or you're taking the SAT, or at the graduate level, if you're taking the GRE. Me, I always strongly recommend GRE. I don't know why I say this every day, that even if if it's not required, it's recommended, please take it and take it well. Don't take the exams if you know you're not passed. For me, I'd rather you don't even take it at all. But put in that extra effort to do the exams and do well on the exams, it really just pushes you above the whole application pool. It's so very useful for students who didn't do well in school. I had this photo boy who actually came out with a third class from Photo Owerri, very, very smart boy, but I don't know what happened in Photo and they just didn't do well. But when he took the GRE, he almost had a perfect GRE score. I am not kidding. Like he got admitted into Texas A&M, like beyond, wrote an amazing essay how he struggled in school because of his age and things like that, and how the school didn't set in for him well. But he got admitted, showcased all his high school achievements, and just while this last 4 years have been a struggle for him, and kind of talked about the strengths, his TOEFL, his GRE, everything was just like almost perfect. And he definitely got a spot. So it actually does compensate for weak grades or sports in your life. It shows your academic strengths. And for me, it just gives you more options, especially when it comes to if you're looking for assistantship position or you're looking for scholarship opportunities. For me, I tell people that when I see your GRE score, your SAT scores, or your ACT score, I can honestly tell your academic strength. I don't even need anybody to tell me what your academic strength is. I can read, I can tell who this person is academically. And that's so for me very, very, very important. All right, so now we're going to take the case studies. I'm going to stop sharing for a while so we can see the faces of our 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 panelists. And I'm literally just going to start with them actually. Yeah. So this is me trying to find the questions. So I know I sent you the questions. All right. So how can you just tell the house what brought about how did you think about going in for an OND or HND, even though it's circumstance that made you pursue that pathway? Can you just explain how you went through that pathway and how that pathway actually helped shape your academic goals?
Initially, I didn't have intention of doing OND or HND. Everybody looks at the university. But getting into the university was proving very difficult. And every time, sometimes, like the one that pained me most was I tried aptitude test in Umudike. That's a University of Agriculture. I scored 54 in the aptitude test, and the person that scored the highest scored 56. His name came out. The next person that scored next to me was 51. The name came out. My name was missing. Like I went back to the school and asked them. They were like, "Oh, your name is supposed to come out," but somehow my name didn't come out. As a dean, I've stayed home for like 4 years waiting for university admission. So in 2008, my elder sister filled my JAM form. So she mistakenly filled biology for me instead of maths. And that messed up she filled chemistry, biology, and I think English. So she missed maths that would have taken me to engineering. So I still wrote the JAM, had a good score. But when I went to University of Uyo and they told me you cannot do engineering because you didn't do maths in JAM, I said, oh, I can't stay home again another year because I couldn't get in. Like I couldn't change my course as at that time. So what I did, and I'm okay, let me go the OND route. Let me try the OND. So I tried and I got, I think, IMT in Enugu. So I put them as my second choice. I put my state polytechnic, but I didn't want to go to school at home. I wanted to go out. So I told God that if IMT gives me admission and my name is on the first list, I'm gonna go there. I didn't want my state university and my state polytechnic. Unfortunately, my state polytechnic gave me admission to be going to school in the evening, and the evening of Friday and Saturday. I was like, what the heck? I'm not working. Why would I be going to school on a weekend? So I was just hoping that IMT will give me admission first, please, because IMT is one of giving people admission close to the exam time. And as God, and I prayed about it like I'm a Christian, I won't deny that fact. And as God will have it, my name came out first list, and my name was number 10 on the list of over 1,000 people. And that is how I found myself. And I told myself that, okay, if I'm doing my ND, I'm going to complete my HND. So right from about when I was completing my OND, Dangote came to the school to pick those of us that had good GPA. My GPA was on distinction. So there was a guy downstairs that I was teaching calculus. So the guy told me about it because my school removed my name because I wasn't an indigene, and IMT is a state university. So they prioritized their people. I wasn't part of them. But the guy I used to teach calculus informed me that, oh, Dangote, that company, I didn't even know it was Dangote. So I just tried, came to Lagos for their aptitude test, so they employed me. When they employed me, because I knew myself that if I want to progress in my education, because it was really a struggle to pay for my OND. Like my second year, I was almost at a point of, God, you brought me here, you got to get me out. I didn't know how to pay my fees. My exams was just a week away. Like this was Friday, I've not paid my fees. My exam was starting on Monday, so it was really crazy. I was just crazy, but God just came through. I paid, so I knew that if I'm going to further, I need to have a job that will be able to pay for my school. When I got to Dangote and I started working, everybody went to the university. Trust me, I tried. I'm always aspiring. I tried to get back to the university, and I bought direct entry form. And that, as a that period to that particular year, that was 2014. If you buy it, you can buy two direct entry form and it goes through. You can try other school. But that particular year, JAM decided to cancel anybody that bought two direct entry form. That is how I missed that. I was like, no, I'm not gonna, because I was supposed to have been back in school by 2014. And I was like, no, I can't come and wait another year till 2015 to start. No, I've been out of the school system for like 3 years, so I need to get back. So that was why I bought form. In fact, I had bought the form because I was just browsing through schools, like what school will I go to? Like I was just looking at schools. So I saw Air Force Institute of Technology, Kaduna. I was like, Air Force, they are recruiting students. I never heard of that school. So I look at, because every school, I look at their requirement for admission. I saw that they were looking for a pass, and I was sitting with upper credit. I was like, why am I wasting my time? So I just downloaded the form, filled it, and posted it, and I totally forgot about it. It was when time for aptitude test came for direct entry that I discovered that JAM had canceled my form. That I now remembered I applied to one school like that, and that was the only HND school I applied for. So I now decided to go and check. I saw that they had given me, this was October, and they are giving me admission since August, and I was mad. Like, I was sitting down here. So that was how I took permission from work. I got myself to Kaduna, and when I got there, they were telling me it's a military institution, that if they told you, giving you admission in August and you didn't come, that means that the admission is nullified. I said, well, if God wants me to be in that school, I will go there, my admission will be waiting for me. So I got to the school in October, and when I got there, as I walked into the registrar's office, he gave me my admission letter. That is how I started my HND. Yeah. So when I completed
I was going to say when you finished
HND with distinction, I was looking, because I've always wanted, PhD has always been my goal. Like I've always wanted PhD. So when I completed my HND, I went back to Mudike to start my PhD. But I discovered that I could not fund it because my auntie was funding me. So whenever school was not in session, she was not giving me money. So I went from this person that was giving money to the person that is borrowing money. So I left to Mudike, I went back to my job in Kogi State. So when I got back to my job, I went back, that's 2018, I went back to my former school to start PGD again. So I started noticing some things. Okay, there was a vacancy that came up with WAEC. I wanted to apply, and there was no place I could fill HND or PGD or that. So, and I started asking myself, why am I doing PGD? Why am I wasting time? Then, as that same year, 2018, Korean came up that if you have HND, you have PGD, you cannot be a registered engineer until you have a master's degree. I said, what the heck? Why are you wasting my time? So I now decided, okay, there was one job opportunity I saw in Canada and I wanted to apply. And the person looked at my profile and like, oh, you have diplomas. I was like, oh. And I said, okay, if I am, as a then I didn't have any plan of leaving Nigeria because I just knew that I could not afford the fees, because I looked at the fees. Like I didn't even want to do HND. Right then, I started looking for how to get to Canada, to get to US. But I just saw the fees and I can't afford this. I can't pay for this. So that was why I killed that dream. But in 2021, one of my colleagues in Dangote Academy chatted me like, okay, I had dropped out of my PGD again, and I went to Fuye Federal University of Yekiti to start my bachelor's degree. So I was in my 400 level.
I was going to say what level did you start?
I started from 300 level. You know, I've already had a change. So I started from 300 level. So I was already in my 400 level. That was my second year of the program. So this my friend, we were all in Dangote Academy. So he left to LASU in Lagos State, I think
University. Yeah.
Lautech, Lagos
Oh,
State
okay.
Polytechnic. So from Lautech now, he now left. I didn't know he was out of the country. So he now chatted me that he knows I'm very good at. I can use my HND and go to the US. I was like, what are you talking about? Like, he now started giving me information. Okay, go and look through this, go and read through this, go and look. He gave me information. He said I should evaluate my HND and my
Credential.
ND, and let's see how it goes. That was in 2021. So he gave me most of the information that I need. So I polished my credentials, drafted my academic CV, drafted my statement of pupils, and I applied. I looked for schools that had the program I wanted, and I applied to them. All of them admitted me. Like for masters, I was looking for master's degree. All of them admitted me, but with just 50% funding, and I wasn't comfortable with that. I was
And
looking
this was
for,
with your HND, right? This was your HND
yes, with
degree.
my HND. I think a university.
Did you evaluate that credential? Did you evaluate your
Yes,
OND
I
and
did.
HND? What evaluating
Yes,
body
I
did you
did.
use?
I use Wes.
Okay, Wes. Okay.
I use Wes. Yes, I use Wes. So they all admitted me. But I also noticed that even when I submit the evaluated transcript, they will say ask me for my
Yeah, we
original
do.
transcript.
We do.
They
We
still
do.
ask me for it. So I will submit that, and I'll also submit my original transcript. In University of Alabama, Tuscaloosa admitted me for PhD. I was like, wow, with my HND. But the only downside is that they didn't give me funding. They didn't give me funding, so I decided, okay, I University of South Florida admitted me for masters to electrical engineering. So their cost of attendance was a bit lower, and as I then had one Society of Women Engineers scholarship of around almost $8,000. So
Wow.
combining everything, and my sister was like, okay, I will support you. So my sister's proof of fund, I tried to go to University of South Florida, but I was denied visa in 2022. So when I was denied visa, and I was like, okay, let me come back, complete my bachelor's degree, and polish my material and try again. As at that 22, I think 2022, I joined EducationUSA, and I started learning another aspect of things. So I started like, oh, all these things I'm doing it like ignorantly. I didn't have the right materials. I didn't have the right information. I didn't have the right mentorship. So by the time I look at in fact, when I look at that, my first HOP, I was like, why did these people admit me? Like, I put all my village story inside there. I was like, why did these people admit me? Anyway, maybe because it was master, because the following year, which was for fall 2023, almost I decided that I'm not going for masters again.
Master.
I'm aiming for PhD. But as a dean, my bachelor's degree was not ready. So I just compiled the result I had as a dean, had my exam officer sign them. So that was what I was using to apply, I using for the application. So I couldn't even evaluate like that because it was just not official. So
But
I got the
were you combining it with the West evaluation you already had? So you were combining the
yes,
West
I did.
and the BSc. Oh, okay.
Yes, I did. I didn't. I combined it, but they will always ask you to submit your original
Yeah.
transcript. So, and that didn't go well for me because all the schools I applied to, like I applied to almost 18 schools, 17 rejected me. It was only South Dakota State University that admitted me for PhD and no funding. I went back to my drawing table. I said, no, I have to wait for my transcript to be ready and my certificate to be ready. So in 2023, all my documents were ready. And as at then, I had won iScholar scholarship, and they decided to pay for my TOEFL and my GRE. So I prepared for that. I wrote TOEFL. But honestly, I got a good score. I got 91 in my TOEFL, and I got a 325. I think
On
325
GRE.
in my GRE.
GRE,
Yeah,
yeah.
something like that. So I got 325. But at the end, they didn't help me because the schools that admitted me with funding didn't ask for it. And a school that asked for it, the University of Central Florida, did not give me funding when I was admitted. And I was so pissed off, like I was so angry. So the other school that admitted me, like three other schools that admitted me with funding, full funding, they didn't ask for my GRE or my, they didn't ask. Like I didn't submit it. I did not submit it. So that was just how it worked for me. That was
So,
just the
so you see the reason why all these graduate students would not be saying they don't want to take GRE and TOEFL again, because they can now the men will now overemphasizing it and letting them know that, you know what, I got it, I didn't have to take GRE and TOEFL, you know. But that's actually quite an interesting story. But I need you to introduce yourself. We missed that part when you started talking.
Oh, I am Udemy Dem. I'm currently a PhD student at Purdue University and also doing my master's program in electrical engineering with Purdue University. Prior to me joining Purdue University, I worked with Dangote Cement PLC for 18 years.
Yeah. She's a bulldozer, you know, like woman bulldozer. That's how, like, somebody, and I like the fact that she shared a story of her struggle. So if you're a Nigerian out there, like, oh, you know what, I cannot get an education, I'm struggling. There are options. You can start small. She started small. Look at all the things she did. IMT, apply here, no apply. Like, you just need to keep moving. And that's why I keep telling people we have to keep moving. We have to keep moving. It's very, very important to do that. All right, let me move over to the undergraduate students and ask Zoyana. Zoyana, what made you apply to an A-level program? What made you do A-level? Share that story with us. What made you go through that pathway?
Okay, so hi, good morning. My name is Ziona, and I am currently attending the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, a HBCU in Arkansas, and I am doing my bachelor's in biology with a minor in bioinformatics. And I chose the A-level path. It was actually quite literally chosen for me because I went to Avicenna International School. So I went through a British pathway in the first place. So the next thing after year 11 for me was the A-level program. And I went to do a 2-year A-level program in South Africa in the African Leadership Academy. So for me, it was more of an automatic step more than a choice per se, I would say. Yeah.
So do you think the A-level program that you did kind of helped you now that you're in college? Do you think that was like, are you happy you went through that program? Did it help you settle in academically? What's the feedback you have for us?
I would say certainly that the A-level program was very, very institutional in me being able to be here. I guess some people do get in with IGCSEs, but with A-levels, there are automatic credits in which you can apply for. Other people with other majors, especially the IT majors, did that, but me specifically, I chose not to do that because I'm going to apply for the MCAT at the end of my 4 years. And one thing I noticed about MCAT, by the way, is the medical assessment that you need to get into medical school in the United States. And one thing I noticed was there are certain tweaks American does with their university, with their education system, rather. They have their own definition of things. They have their own pathway of things. It's similar, but not the same. And I didn't want a situation whereby it will pull me down with my MCAT because I need to get a very high score in my MCAT because I'm an international student. So I'm already at a little bit of a disadvantage when applying with other American students. So I chose to do that. However, I would say because of my A levels, as soon as I got into UAPB, I was admitted into the honors college. And I got a really good Strata scholarship. And that Strata scholarship, they basically gave me a semester stipend of roughly $2,000. And we get to go to conferences all over the United States. For example, last semester, I went to Dallas in Texas. So having the A levels is actually something that I would advise for anybody going into the United States because you're already at an advantage with the other United States and American students, which at a normal level, when it comes to advantages, job applications, and things like that, you're already at a slight disadvantage. So any advantage you want to get with the American students, take it. A levels is a really good advantage. It's a 2-year advantage. I got into A levels when I was 16. I don't think I would have been able to go to the United States at 16. I don't think my mother would have even allowed me to go to the United States at 16. So
I
it
was going to
was
say that
a
is your mom, even with 18, it was a struggle for your mom to let you go. It
it
was a
was a
struggle.
struggle. It was a struggle for my mother to let me go. But here I am. And I would say the A levels allowed me to mature. I was able to be within a place of other like-minded students. We're all 16, 18, also some up to 20. We're all in the same environment and able to kind of leave the home and the safety of our parents and to be able to transition into that mentality of university. So by the time I was in university, it wasn't a culture shock for me. Apart from the fact that I was in the United States, it wasn't much of a culture shock for me anymore. So that is what I would say the A levels helped me with personally.
So this is off the beaten track or off the beaten path. So do you think the A levels actually contributed to your amazing writing skills? Or did you think you picked that in the IGCSE journey?
For my amazing writing skills, I would say my parents,
Oh,
because
okay.
both of them are journalists. So I basically grew up with a library of books in not just English, but also in French and other languages. So I was able, as an only child growing up, all I could do was pick up books and read. So I would say that that contributed. But I would say the A levels program also contributed to that because they noticed that, oh, wow, she's really good at writing, let's kind of hone on that. So I think that was also my A-level school and my IGCSE school as well. So they allowed me have writing competitions or personalized writing classes, and that really just boosted my writing skills. Yeah.
Awesome. So Daniel, over to you. Please introduce yourself and tell us what puts you in the A-level pathway.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good
My name is
afternoon.
Daniel Taiwo. I'm currently attending the University of Southern Mississippi, studying computer science. And what brought me to the A-level program, I actually never wanted to do it, if I'm being very honest. I think this is one story that Auntie Shade does not know yet about me. Um, so when I was in year 12, the way my school does it is that you have to attain a certain grade to qualify for the accelerated A-level program. That's instead of 2 years, you fast track everything into 1 year. So it's only for the top 2% of our class. So I knew I was going to qualify. I don't mean to sound, but I knew I was going to qualify already because I'm just that kind of person. And I was already telling my mom, mommy, I don't want to do this thing. I don't want to do it. And they offered me full scholarship because they knew that this is an investment that's going to pay off. And they were just looking for me everywhere. I went home early because I didn't want to go. I knew they would come and start looking for me. And my mom had to accept the very beautiful offer that they presented to the table. They also gave my brother some benefits as well. So that's how I ended up in the A-level program. But do I regret the decision? No, I do not at all. The A-level program helped me to mature in ways that I didn't see myself maturing before. Um, it also gave me an advantage over other people I was applying with, like Auntie Shade said every time we're applying to a school and Shadi will tell them that as she's telling me that okay, these other people are applying, she'll let them know that okay, Dan is applying or Dan has A levels or that you guys should watch out. So that's the unfair advantage, quote and unquote, that I always had over other people applying to schools in the United States. So I would always advise people to take the A levels. It is a very good stepping stone. It gives you a very good advantage over other people.
So
Yep.
Daniel, let me ask, I know you did very well in the standardized test. Did you think the A-level program was one of the reasons why you aced the standardized test? I don't want to call your scores out openly, but you almost perfect score SAT, literally. You were just short some few points. So did you think that helped you, or do you think it was just your own reading habits?
Um, Definitely the A level helped. I did math, chemistry, and physics in A level. So my math, I had that in the box already. But then it's the English I just needed to work on. I was telling Auntie Shade that that's all I need to work on. And then she knows everything. She knows the whole story behind it. So the math, yes, definitely attribute part of it to my A level program that I took.
We have advisors in the house. Do we have advisors that have any questions for any of our 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 guests or our panelists? You know, please you can throw in your question. And honestly, for those of us who are attendees as well, if you have any question for us, please you can use the Q&A button. So it will be I'm the only person asking them questions. Yeah, you should ask your questions. Very, very important, you know. Zoyana, did your mom feel 2 years was a lot? Because a lot of parents always wonder, 2 years, like they feel 2 years is like parents scream 2 years in my ears, and I'm just like, what's 2 years? It's just 2 years, no, but parents take it so personal that it's a lot of years that the children are wasting. Did your parents think that A level was a waste of time for them?
I do see a lot of parents that think A level is a waste of time, but my mom, I'm pretty sure if it was 3 years, she'd have preferred that 3 years because she really wanted me to mature before going into the United States. Well, I had an opportunity to go into the United States at 16 to continue a pathway with high school. I got into the schools. I got a full ride, actually. She said, absolutely not. She said, no. She said, I don't think so. She said, you're going to, even for me to go to South Africa to do my A levels, it was a fight. We had to butt heads on that, like allow me spread
To
my
go.
wings and fly. So I think for her, she wanted me to emotionally mature and physically mature. And I'll be forever grateful for that because those 2 years are important. People don't understand that there's a difference between high school and university. And A levels is that special little middle pathway that really prepares you. A lot of people kind of derail in university because all of a sudden it's a lot of freedom that in which they are not like expected to have, they're not sure of having, and it's a lot of years. But A levels is a 2 year program in which they still have some form of protection over you because they understand that you're kids, but they allow you have some leeway because they understand that you're about to enter university. So I think that's the A level special program for me.
So one of that sweet to that is parents also say that A levels are expensive. So do you want to share how you were able to navigate that financial part? I know Daniel mentioned a little bit about his was fully funded. We're going to get back to you, Daniel. But for you, how were you able to fund that A level pathway? Like it's so expensive, you know.
So I went through the African Leadership Academy, and the African Leadership Academy, they assess your parents' um, bank statements and how much money that they have, and they use that to give you a certain amount of scholarship for you to be able to fund your own way. So basically, financial aid, right?
Yeah.
And because of that, I think how much did my mom pay? Well, obviously excluding flight tickets, visa applications, and all of that. For just the academic year, I believe we're paying roughly $5,000 each academic year. So it all just depends on how much your parents can pay, how good your IGCSE results are, because that's very important. At each step, you always have to have really good grades at this point, and also how good you are with your interview. I think my interview really helped me with when applying to A levels. I believe the way I was able to articulate and speak and just have conversations with my interviewer and the way they were impressed with me, I was able to qualify for the Chevron Scholar. So the Chevron, I think we do. Do people know what Chevron is? Yeah, the Chevron oil company. I think they were quite interested in my case specifically, and they liked the way I speak. So they took majority of the funding to go to A levels because I think it was roughly $30,000 that I should have paid, but my mother and father only just paid $5,000. So I think that was just kind of the easy part for me. So
I
yeah.
was actually going to add the fact that actually even kids with very, very zero budgets can actually apply and get into the African Leadership Academy. The only clause to that is that it's highly competitive. Like, I am not kidding. Like, it's like 1% acceptance rates. It's so African thing. So your child really needs to be very, very good to get in. I have one question from one of the advisors. There's no name, so I can't tell which advisor is this. What was the most difficult part of the application process for you? Zoyana, Daniel, you're going to take the question as well if Zoyana is done. And considering your unique academic history, what was the most difficult part of the application process for you? So I wouldn't know if this is the US application process or the A-level application process, but in my head, I'm thinking it's the US application process.
Okay. For me, the most difficult part was um I had to take a gap year between A levels and what's it called? And entering the
And college, yeah.
university and college, yes. So the most difficult part was explaining what I'm going to be doing during that 1 year. Because the United States University, if you're taking a gap year and you're just sitting down in your house and looking at your parents and they're looking back at you, you're not getting into the school. So as soon as I knew that, okay, I'm going to take this gap year, I knew exactly what I needed to do. So I went to the Red Cross in Nigeria and signed myself up for the Red Cross in Nigeria and paid like a tiny little fee. Was it 5,000 naira or something like that? It was just a very tiny fee, and I was active there. I also applied for some jobs online, and I got into a job in the United Kingdom called Black Lives in Music. I was having so many opportunities. I went to take online courses. I went to conferences. I was very hands-on in my gap year because I needed all the universities to know that I'm not just sitting down in my house just looking. I am actively doing things. This is not like a setback for me as a gap year. This is actually a propelling because a gap year can be either one of two things. It can either set you back or push you forward. So it's very important for universities to know that this gap year is pushing me forward and making me, in fact, more competitive than the student that are automatically applying from A level. So I think that was the most difficult part for me. And the
Uh,
second question of
so
is that
the second,
question?
yeah, that's actually the question. But the second question, for that part is, what would you do differently if you were starting your educational journey again? That's a good question, Ms. Malati.
Oh, what would I do differently?
And that's the question all three of us are going to answer with Miss
What
Udeme.
would what would I do differently?
You can
I
think about
think
it.
I would
Okay.
have started research as soon as I entered the A levels program. I believe people start the research on the second year, but I should have started the research at the first year, but that's just personal for personal reasons. I believe that it would have helped me to be able to specify what school I wanted to go into. And if I know that this group of schools, this is what they want, I would specifically be able to work harder for it rather than getting to the point and saying, oh, this is my qualifications. So these are the schools I'll be able to apply to. So I think that's just something I'll personally change. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Ziana. So, Daniel, what was the most difficult part of the application process for you? Oh my God, I know. Even in my head, I'm like, oh, I can't say this. Go ahead.
I feel like I know what Shadi is thinking, but I'm not going to say that. Um, for me, I think it was actually the essay writing because I'm not an essay person. Or I was not an essay person until I started with Auntie Shadi and Education USA. I have to give a big shout out to Miss Ruby. Miss Ruby and I, the day before the deadline, it was like it was just me and the people for early decision she was attending to. So big shout out to Miss Ruby. And we really hammered on that essay part. It was really difficult because when you're applying to US, you're advised to apply to a broad range of schools, as many schools as possible, different types of schools, different requirements, different essay types, and you have to tweak it to meet the different universities. You have to do research on each university you're applying to. So I think that part alone made it really difficult for me. So yeah.
Awesome. So, the next question for you is, what would you have done differently if you were starting this journey all over again?
What would I have done differently? Um, that's
That's
a
Ms. Malati's question.
that's a tricky one. I think I would find I took a gap year between my A level and college as well. So I would try and fill it with more things. Even though there were quite a bit, I feel like I would try and fill it with more because there were times I was just at home and I was wondering, okay, what do I do? I need to find something to do. I can't just be sitting at home. So yes, I feel like I would find more things to do in the space of that 1 year that I had at home.
Oh, okay. All right. So, Ms. Udeme, over to you now at the graduate level. So, in this whole application process, I know you had a lot of hurdles back and forth, but what was the most difficult part of the application process for you, especially considering your unique academic history? Because your own is very unique. You're a very unique person.
I think the most difficult part was getting admissions without funding. Yeah. I remember one day I got admission offer from, I can't remember the school. I broke down and cried. Like, why are you admitting me without funding? Like, I really cried. I was like, why are you letting me in the door and you're somehow shutting the door against me? I don't have the money to. Why not just give me funding? So I think that was the most, like, I was getting offers back to back, but the funding was not coming. So that day I just checked my email and I was admitted. I wept. Like I really cried. Like I really cried because it really broke me that I have this thing in my hand and it's still not reachable. So that was it for me.
I know
And
most of the time we forget that US schools too also wants us to bring money to them. We tend to forget that in Nigeria, that you know what, they also want you to bring money. Most of these programs actually survive because international students are coming in and bringing money to them. But we were here always like, oh, they didn't give me money. Where is the money? Money, money, money.
I perfectly understand that fact. Trust me, I love education. Like I've always wanted to have a PhD. Like it's been my lifelong dream. So if I had the money, I paid for my HND, I paid for my B engine, I paid everything. Like I didn't have any support from anybody. So if I had the money, I would have paid, honestly. But I didn't. And I know that I'm brilliant. Like people that were getting it don't have two heads, one like mine. So I just needed someone to kind of like help me achieve my goals when I don't have to struggle so much. That is just it for me. So
All
one
right.
thing I would change
Okay, what you have done differently, yeah.
if I'm to do my educational journey again, I don't think I would have done HND. I would have stopped with my OND and go to the university because it just makes your life easier and it makes your journey easier. Because having to finish HND and go back to do a bachelor's degree doesn't really make sense. Like, because as it is right now, sometimes I don't even mention my HND because they just don't really understand what that is. So I have to just stick with my, oh, I have a bachelor's degree in this. So I would always advise people, even if you do your OND, please don't get HND because it's just a waste of your time. Yes, please don't do it. I wish I had known. And for me, it was circumstantial that I had to do HND. But if to say I had a choice, I would just save myself the whole hassle and stress of both the Nigerian system and trying to get people to understand what you have. I know some schools in the US, because they've had people that have HND, they tend to understand. Oh, don't worry, I understand your HND. We have a lot of students that have that kind of like, but some school will still like ask you, what is your HND on? Like, no, they tend to understand the OND because they equate it to their associate degree, but they really don't have a place for that HND. So if you are doing your OND, after your OND, please just get to the university. You will save yourself a whole lot of explaining, a whole lot of, though it's not like a disadvantage to you, it doesn't. It adds to your knowledge, it adds to your experience. Like I don't regret my HND so much because it gave me a different perspective to education. Like I now understand both education system and understand which is more tedious, because honestly, my HND was more tedious than my bachelor's degree. I won't deny that fact. But in terms of going further in your education, if you want to go further in your education, if you have your own OND, please get back to the university because it will help you a lot.
Thank you so much. That's actually a very good question. A lot of my students have told me that I've done both HND and BSc. They've actually said the same thing you just said, that they actually had more academic rigor during their HND compared to when they went for the BSc program. Yeah. So you know someone who did the same thing with you, who is very who also went through this program as well. Did OND, HND, I think in Lautech. Then went to UI and did a bachelor's degree, and he actually also says that his HND was stronger. We do have some questions from Miss Linda Izekwe. Thanks to all the presenters. I had an HND after I did a 1-year PGD. I want to know if the PGD are recognized in the US. Yes, they are, but please evaluate all the credentials together. And can it be used for a master's? For a master's in the US? Absolutely, yes. Even without the PGD, your HND, you can use it for a master's in the US. However, remember, masters in America, as Ms. Udeme had mentioned, most of the time you're going to be admitted and you need to have a budget. You need to have money to be able to pay for masters in the US. And what's the meaning of associate degree? It's like our OND is a 2-year program in America. And when you finish the associate degree, you get a diploma that you've graduated, but it's a 2-year program. However, the bachelor's degree is a 4-year program. So the equivalent of the associate degree in our own terminologies is the OND or the NCE, where we spend 2 years and we get a diploma, but Americans will call it associate degree. And what's the best season to start applying to schools in the US now for next year, fall 2026? Now is a good time to start sending out cold emails to professors, telling them what you have, what you're bringing to the table. And yes, and you're going to be applying for next year, taking the test, putting your credentials together, getting rec letters. Now is a good time to start. Ms. Judith is asking, how did you combine the IGCSE and A levels to get into college? IGCSE and IGCSE and A levels. Zoyan, I think that question is actually for you. But I think Daniel too did IGCSE, right? Daniel, Daniel didn't do WAEC, I'm very sure of that. Daniel, do you want to take that question? It was just a regular combination, but I just want to answer.
I did O levels instead of IGCSE. It was basically the same thing in a sense.
Oh, okay. So Zoyana, do you want to take that question, the IGCSE?
How I combine the IGCSE and A levels. So I'm guessing this person means as I'm applying. So as I'm applying, I needed to do the is it accreditation? I can't remember the exact
Evaluation.
word. Evaluation. Yes, thank you so much. I needed to do the evaluation because a lot of universities, although some do understand, I just wanted just in case because different A levels results, if you know about A levels and IGCSE, they kind of depend on how well the entire cohort in your country did, and that's how they will then use to give you an A star, A, B, C, etc., etc. So I think you will just need to have all your results evaluated. That is including the A levels and your IGCSEs, and then using that to apply. It's quite simple, really. It's not something that you would have to stress over. I think that's the least stressful part about the whole application system.
I was gonna say it's not rocket science. It's so easy to just put that together. This last question is actually from Mr. Demir. What are the chances of getting admitted into a PhD program with a low CGPA? What are the things to do to increase your chances of being admitted? Boom, over to you.
You have to work extra hard. I wouldn't say I can relate with you because I had good GPAs. And you have to have a lot of experience, and you have to sell yourself, like explain why you had a low CGPA. Then you have to write GRE compulsorily. You have to write GRE and you have to write TOEFL so that you can use that and say, oh, maybe I was having mental breakdown during I was dealing with depression. Maybe that was why I struggled a lot. Academic system did not just help my mental health. That was why I was having low GPA. But now that I've graduated, I've been able to be more mentally stable. Like, mental health is very important here. So you can use that and like just tell maybe you were struggling with a lot of things. Maybe that's why you didn't have a good GPA, but sell yourself with your good GRE score and your TOEFL because you have to show them something that you will be able to handle the intensity of graduate program. Because honestly, graduate program here is not a joke. Like it's not a joke. I was really struggling my first semester. So you have to prove to them that you have the mental capacity, you have the knowledge, the intellect to be able to handle your program despite your low GPA. So I've seen people with low GPA, maybe 2.2, have admission with funding, but you have to build your experience. You have to write a stellar SOP. You have to get people that will write sterling recommendations for you. those are the things that will help you, and your test score too will boost your chances of being admitted.
All right, I want to be respectful of time.
My name and he's laughing.
Who? All right, so for me, I want to be respectful of time, of the our panelists, because I know a lot of them are in the US and time is of the essence in the US. But thank you all so much for coming. Like, thank you. This was a very last minute thing that Ms. Manati hooked me into the session. And just as I was thinking about who are the people I should bring on this panel, and honestly, the three of you came to my mind so strongly. And I know, yes, they will be able to talk. They'll be able to like share the experience. And I really want to say all of you brought a unique perspective to this conversation. And for me, for Udemy, I think you just encourage people out there, really. You can go to school, you can work, just keep moving and keep moving, and just stop moving. Even after a visa denial, you went back, repackaged yourself and went back in again. So it's just an amazing testimony. Thank you all. Have a great afternoon and a great weekend. For those of us in Nigeria, enjoy the long holiday coming this weekend. And I think we'll see you guys on Thursday during our showcase. Have a great evening, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Ms. Malati is the